I'm feeling really inspired by the rehearsal that we did yesterday, so I thought just to share some thoughts around that. So we did a rehearsal for Vasa, which is one of the three main rituals that the Buddha prescribed the monastics to do. One of which is our fortnightly confession, the entering into the 3-month rains retreat, and then the pravarana, or the invitation for feedback at the end of that. So I'm not going to talk too much about what that is. There's been other BBCs that have described that. So what I want to talk about is the idea of cultivating a group mentality, harmony, and seeing each other in beauty. And so the term groupthink can have a negative connotation in terms of just heading along with a group of people in a certain direction, often a negative ethical direction, just because the group as a herd is kind of going in that way. But yesterday, Venerable Children mentioned the idea of cultivating a group mentality, which is quite different in terms of thinking, extending our level of concern broader than the self. And in terms of being an only child from a small family, growing up in a Western culture that often prioritizes or instills a sense of individuality, individualism, and this ethic of achieve and be the best, it can stand counter towards this idea of thinking of the collective whole before prioritizing the needs of the collective before the individual. So then coming into the Dharma in general, but also coming into the monastic community, there can be potentially, and I have felt this internal struggle of how I have been raised and culturally trained to prioritize me and mine. And then the training of the precepts in the community and the Dhamma in terms of exchanging self for others, the altruistic intention, and looking beyond just here. So I found this to be the gift of living in community, and these rituals of, these rites and rituals of the Sangha to help my mind make that transition and see the benefits of doing so. And particularly in terms of learning at quite a visceral level and tangibly how we impact each other, and how my acts of body, speech, and mind can help or harm. And particularly, I read in the introduction to Insight into Emptiness by Geshe Jumpa Tekchok, there's a motivation that he sets for reading the book that was coming to mind yesterday as we were doing the rehearsal, and at the mention of cultivating this group mentality where we are trying to see how we can be of benefit to others and be sensitive to how we can act and respond to the needs of others as they arise. And he says, to set a motivation of, I must accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings. The best way to do that is by taking into account their various dispositions, attitudes, and values, and benefiting them in accordance with those. To accomplish this, I must attain the state of a Buddha. So to really be able to do that, we do need to become a Buddha to be so skilled and sensitive to only be of benefit in that way. But we can start doing that now in our own way by becoming very sensitive to the dispositions, attitudes, and values of others and trying to benefit them in accordance with those. Because I find that that's not my first response. It's, I might want to benefit someone, but I want to benefit them in a way that I want to benefit them, and in the way that I think is right, not adapting the way that I want to be of benefit into how might be most skillful to that person and their needs. I think there's an underlying assumption often that my way is the best way, and so I'll do it this way. But as we head into 3 months of silence, where we're all turning inwards to work on our stuff, it's a wonderful opportunity to I think it's been an opportunity recently invited us to do in one of our classes. Just sit and watch others and see. We can get into tune with how they're just seeking happiness and wanting to avoid suffering in their own ways, and how we can help in that endeavor. And so I was thinking, the analogy came to mind of how can I develop this attitude where, like the hand that helps the foot just pulling out a thorn with no thought. It's just the natural thing to do. How can I cultivate the attitude of extending help to others just in that way, where there's no strong distinction of me and them as being separate, or helping me is more important than helping the other person? And so I looked up, Venerable mentioned the story of Anuruddha yesterday, where he's one of 3 disciples that were doing retreat on their own. And the Buddha came and inquired, are you in harmony? And they said yes. And he inquired, well, how? And so Anuruddha said, Bhante, as to that, I think it is a gain for me, a great gain for me, that I am living with such companions in the holy life. I maintain bodily acts of loving kindness towards the Venerable Ones, both openly and privately. I maintain verbal acts of loving kindness towards them, both openly and privately. I maintain mental acts of loving kindness towards them, both openly and privately. I consider, why should I not set aside what I wish to do and do what they wish to do? Then I set aside what I wish to do and do what they wish to do. We are different in body, but one in mind. That is how, Bhante, we are living in concord, with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. And so in the past month or so as well, I've just been getting more in touch with what harmony means to me, and feeling how the community here makes great efforts to cultivate that with each other, and what a wonderful experience it is to live in such a place where that is a focus. And so there is the 6 ways that the Sangha can be in harmony. But thinking more generally and more my own lived experience, looking at how it feels for me, it's this warm feeling in the heart that comes from being in tune with others and seeing that we have a shared purpose. And it's also a sense of respect, that this internal and external harmony that I feel is a dependent arising that we have all created. That it's not just due to me, it's due to everyone that is contributing towards that through their own intention to help each other, to extend love and compassion, and to create this peace. So I just find that really wonderful and beautiful. And then the power of these rituals that we have that provide a physical and verbal form so that we can appreciate that and cultivate that and recognize it, and help us to really see each other's in beauty. And I found that just one by one yesterday, as we accept the stick and we recite these verses, expressing our intention to live in virtue, and help each and every sentient being do exactly the same, it dispels the ordinary mind and really streamlines it into virtue. And I found it a very powerful opportunity, and like taking it as a challenge. It's like, how can I hold this vivid image of everyone that I'm seeing one by one, and take that as the general way that I relate to everyone in general, and kind of bringing in some of the debate teachings we have been getting in terms of the conceptual appearance. It's like, what conceptual appearance do I usually have of people, and how does that limit the way that I interact with them, the assumptions that I make, the stories that I make about how we interact with each other? And how wonderful it would be if the conceptual appearance I have of everyone would be of what we experience in the whole with each other, in terms of people expressing this wish to live it purely ethically, and help everyone else to do that as well. So going forward, wherever you are, whether you're entering into Vasa or not, I invite you to contemplate how you can cultivate a group mentality that extends the level of self-concern beyond just me and mine. What harmony means to you and how you can cultivate that within yourself and extend it to others. And how you can, why you would want to, and how you can maintain eyes of love, seeing each other as in beauty, and enjoy the peace and happiness that that brings.